The camera sweeps over Washington, D.C. As twilight descends, the Capitol dome glowing faintly against a bruised, indigo sky. Its marble facade a stoic guardian of secrets woven into the fabric of a city where power is both currency and curse, where truth is often a shadow cast by ambition, where whispers in gilded halls carry more weight than evidence. It's May 1st, 2001, and in the heart of the nation's capital, a young woman vanishes without a trace, her absence a quiet tremor that will soon erupt into a seismic scandal, shaking the foundations of trust in a city built on deals, deception, and unspoken alliances. Chandra Levy, a 24-year-old intern with dreams as luminous as the city's lights, steps out of her Northwest D.C. apartment and into a void that swallows her whole, leaving no footprints, no witnesses, no answers, only a silence that screams with unanswered questions. Her disappearance ignites a firestorm, a scandal that engulfs a congressman, captivates a nation, and peels back the veneer of Washington's polished exterior to reveal a world of whispered secrets, political maneuvering, and buried truths. A secret affair with a powerful man, hushed rumors echoing through mahogany-paneled offices, a body hidden in the tangled wilderness of Rock Creek Park, and a truth obscured by layers of speculation, spin, and silence that seem to protect the powerful and forsake the lost. This isn't just a missing person case. It's a story of ambition, betrayal, and a mystery that still haunts Washington, D.C., a city where secrets are guarded with a ferocity that rivals its pursuit of power, where the truth is often the first casualty in a game of influence, intrigue, and control, a place where a young woman's life became a pawn in a narrative that consumed a nation, leaving justice lost in the shadows of a city that thrives on spectacle. The screen fades to a photograph of Chandra Levy, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders, her smile radiant in a cap and gown from her 2000 graduation at the University of Southern California, a snapshot of a young woman on the cusp of greatness, her eyes sparkling with ambition, hope, and the quiet fire of someone determined to leave a mark. Chandra Levy was 24, a California native born in Cleveland, Ohio, and raised in Modesto, a quiet agricultural town with a flat horizon of almond orchards and suburban streets whispered of possibilities beyond its borders, where dreams of bigger stages felt both distant and within reach. Ambitious, intelligent, and fiercely driven, she arrived in Washington, D.C. in October 2000 as an intern at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, her mind sharp with the goal of carving out a career in law enforcement or intelligence, her heart set on making a difference in a world that needed it, her spirit undaunted by the Capitol's cynicism. She was so excited to be in D.C. Her mother, Susan Levy, told the Washington Post in July 2001, her voice trembling with pride and grief, a mother's memory of a daughter who burned with purpose, whose laughter filled their Modesto home with warmth, whose dreams were as boundless as the Capitol skyline, a young woman who saw Washington as her stage to change the world, to shape justice, to build a legacy. Chandra's role in the Bureau's Public Affairs Division placed her in the heart of the Capitol's pulse, assisting reporters covering high-profile cases, including the execution of Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh. Her work a quiet but vital thread in the tapestry of justice, her presence a spark in the bureaucratic machine, her energy a beacon in a city often cloaked in shadows of ambition and compromise. On April 30th, 2001, Chandra's world went silent, a sudden stillness that reverberated across continents, from the quiet streets of Modesto to the frenetic corridors of D.C., a void that swallowed a family's hope. The camera pans across her Northwest D.C. apartment on 21st Street, a modest one-bedroom space, its walls adorned with framed photos of family vacations in Yosemite, its shelves lined with books on criminology, public policy, and law enforcement. Its air heavy, with an eerie calm under the hum of fluorescent lights, a space that feels like a shrine to a life interrupted. Her parents, Robert and Susan Levy, notice she's not answering calls, her voicemail full, her absence a growing void that gnaws at their hearts, a dread that deepens with each unanswered ring, a fear that something irrevocable has happened, a nightmare taking shape in the silence. We called and called, and when she didn't pick up, I knew something was wrong. Susan later told 2020 in 2016, her words heavy with a mother's intuition, her voice cracking with the fear that would become a lifelong companion, her soul marked by a loss she couldn't yet name, her heart clinging to the fading hope that Chandra was still out there, somewhere alive. On May 6th, Robert reports her missing to D.C. police, and officers enter her apartment, their footsteps echoing in a space frozen in time, a snapshot of a life paused mid-breath, a place where dreams once lived and now linger like ghosts. Her laptop, left open, reveals haunting clues, searches for Southwest Airlines, perhaps for a flight home to Modesto to celebrate her graduation from a master's program in public administration. The Washington Post's weather page, checking conditions for a spring day. And most chillingly, Klingel Mansion in Rock Creek Park, a sprawling 1,754-acre wilderness, weaving through the city like a shadowed vein, its trails a labyrinth of beauty and danger, its history a whisper of forgotten crimes, its silence a keeper of secrets. Her wallet, keys, and ID are neatly arranged on a table, her running shoes missing, suggesting she stepped out for a jog, her dreams intact, her life poised on the edge of something new, her spirit vibrant and unyielding. Chandra Levy, the ambitious intern with a bright future, was last seen at a DuPont Circle Health Club, her sneakers laced, her smile bright, her future shimmering with possibility. Then she vanished into the shadows of a city that thrives on secrets, her absence a mystery that would unravel a nation's trust in its capital, a puzzle that would expose the fragility of justice in a world ruled by power, perception, and the relentless pursuit of control. The scene shifts to the U.S. Capitol, its marble corridors dimly lit, the echo of footsteps fading into a heavy silence as night cloaks the city, its halls a labyrinth of whispered deals, guarded truths, and unspoken alliances that bind the powerful and shield their secrets. In the weeks following Chandra's disappearance, rumors ripple through Washington's elite. Hushed conversations in mahogany-paneled offices, dimly lit bars along Pennsylvania Avenue, and the private dining rooms of Georgetown's power brokers, where the city's insiders trade secrets like currency. Chandra Levy was having an affair with Congressman Gary Condit, a 53-year-old Democrat from her hometown of Modesto, California, a married grandfather serving his 5th term on the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, a man whose folksy charm and political savvy masked a private life now under a harsh and unrelenting spotlight, a life about to be dissected by a nation hungry for scandal. The camera lingers on Condit's official portrait, his smile polished but strained, his eyes betraying a flicker of unease, a man caught in the crosshairs of a brewing storm, his carefully crafted image unraveling thread by thread, his career teetering on the edge of collapse, his name about to become a synonym for infamy. Initially, Condit denies any romantic involvement, telling D.C. police in a May 2001 interview, "I saw her one time outside the office at a restaurant, and she came by my condo once." His voice clipped evasive, his words carefully chosen to deflect scrutiny, to maintain the facade of a devoted family man, a congressman above reproach. Per a 2016 Dr. Phil interview, where he recounted his early denials, his demeanor still guarded, his eyes haunted by a scandal that never faded, his life forever altered by a story he couldn't control. but by his third police interview in July 2001, under mounting pressure from investigators, a relentless press, and the public baying for answers, Condit admits to a close relationship, a confession prompted by a damning detail. His DNA found on Chandra's underwear in her apartment, a discovery that leaks to the press like gasoline on a fire, igniting a scandal that would consume his career and reshape the case. Per the Washington Post, 2008. The media descends like a swarm, CNN and Fox News broadcasting round-the-clock coverage, the headlines screaming Congressman's secret affair, and missing intern mystery. Their anchors dissecting every detail with breathless intensity, their panels filled with pundits speculating on Condit's guilt, their words shaping a narrative that outpaces evidence, that convicts before a crime is even confirmed. Reporters camp outside Condit's Adams Morgan condo, their cameras flashing like vultures circling a carcass, their microphones thrust toward neighbors, staffers, anyone who might know him, their presence a constant reminder of a city hungry for scandal, a machine driven by ratings and headlines. "We'll stay here until he resigns," one journalist told the Washington Post in July 2001, their words a vow of relentless pursuit, their presence a testament to a media machine fueled by the allure of a Capitol Hill drama that sells newspapers, boosts viewership, and feeds a nation's appetite for intrigue. The public devours the story, tabloids like the National Enquirer and Star painting Condit as a villain in a sordid soap opera, their pages filled with lurid speculation about sex, power, and betrayal, their headlines branding him a predator before evidence emerges, their stories weaving a narrative that sticks like tar. Vanity Fair's Dominic Dunn fuels the fire on Larry King Live in 2005, declaring, "I think Condit knows more than he's telling." His words a spark that keeps the narrative burning, his speculation a catalyst for a public trial that outpaces the law, a narrative that convicts without proof, that destroys without evidence, per CNN, 2005. Yet D.C. police, under intense scrutiny from a city and a nation demanding answers, never named Condit a suspect, their investigation finding no fingerprints, no DNA, no witnesses tying him to Chandra's disappearance. Their reports clear that he cooperated, albeit reluctantly, answering questions in 4 interviews, providing a DNA sample, and allowing a search of his condo, though he refused a polygraph, per NBC News, 2016. The lack of evidence does little to stem the tide of public judgment. Condit's career crumbles, his 2002 re-election bid lost to a primary challenger, his name forever tied to a scandal he couldn't escape, his life a casualty of a city that thrives on spectacle, where perception is more damning than proof, where a man's reputation becomes collateral damage in a game of power and headlines. The camera pans to a darkened Capitol hallway, a single light flickering, as if the truth is slipping through the cracks, buried in a city where whispers carry more weight than evidence, where power protects its own and destroys those who falter, where a young woman's fate becomes a pawn in a larger narrative that serves the city's elite, a story that drowns out her voice in favor of a scandal that sells. The silence of those halls feels like a censure, a city closing ranks around its secrets, leaving Chandra's story to be swallowed by the noise of a spectacle that never sought her truth, only its own. The screen cuts to Rock Creek Park, its dense woods casting long, jagged shadows, its winding trail swallowed by a canopy of ancient oaks, maples, and sycamores, a wilderness that feels both beautiful and menacing, a place where joggers vanish into isolation and secrets linger in the underbrush like ghosts, a landscape that holds its truths close and yields them only reluctantly. On May 22, 2002, a hiker named Philip Palmer, searching for turtles with his dog along the Western Ridge Trail, stumbles across a human skull half buried in leaves, its empty sockets staring up through the dirt. a grim relic in a case gone cold. It's a skull human, I think. There's more bones here scattered, he tells the 911 operator, his voice trembling with shock, his call a chilling marker that reopens a wound that never healed, per the Washington Post, 2010. Dental records confirm it's Chandra Levy, her skeletal remains strewn across a steep ravine, her sweatshirt knotted around branches, her sneakers tangled in underbrush, her body too decomposed to determine a cause of death. No signs of stab wounds, gunshot wounds, or trauma. The passage of time erasing the story her remains might have told, leaving only questions in their place. A void where answers should have been, per Oxygen, 2018. The discovery, over a year after her disappearance, 387 days of rain, wind, and decay, exposes a cascade of police missteps that haunt the investigation, a series of failures that turn a tragedy into a travesty, a case that becomes a symbol of a system buckling under pressure, a city failing one of its own. A sergeant accidentally corrupts Chandra's laptop search history during an early analysis in May 2001, delaying the discovery of her Klingel Mansion search for a month, a blunder that cost critical time when seconds mattered, a mistake that left investigators blind to a key clue, per the Washington Post, 2010. Security footage from her apartment building at 2111 Wisconsin Avenue, recorded over every 7 days, is lost forever, erasing any trace of her final moments, a gap that leaves investigators grasping at shadows, their search for answers stymied by technology's limits and human error, per NBC4 Washington, 2010. A 4:30 a.m. 911 call from her building on May 1st, reporting screams near the alley behind the complex, is dismissed as unrelated, a decision that lingers like a ghost, its implications debated in online forums like Reddit 2024, where users speculate about a missed chance to save her, a moment where the truth might have been within reach. The initial police search of Rock Creek Park, prompted by Chandra's laptop history, was cursory at best, a half-hearted effort that missed her remains despite department policy mandating a 100-yard sweep of all trails, a failure that left evidence exposed to rain, animals, and decay for over a year, a loss that haunts the case like a specter, per NPR, 2010. The investigation was marred by one lapse after another. The Washington Post reporters Scott Hyam and Sari Horwitz wrote in their 2010 book Finding Chandra, their words a damning indictment of a D.C. police force overwhelmed by a high-profile case, understaffed and undertrained for a mystery of this magnitude, their resources stretched thin by a city grappling with rising crime, political scrutiny, and a media storm that demanded results. The FBI's called in forensic experts and advocates swarm, their expertise a desperate bid to salvage a case slipping away. But it's too late. The evidence is gone, washed away by a year of storms, scattered by wildlife, eroded by time. The crime scene a skeleton of what it might have revealed, a barren landscape of lost opportunities. The public's outrage grows, fueled by a media frenzy that demands a villain, any villain, to satisfy a nation's need for closure, a pressure that warps the investigation into a hunt for answers at any cost, a race to name a killer before the trail goes cold forever. The pressure was immense, lead investigator Brad Garrett told NBC4 Washington in 2021, his voice heavy with the weight of a case that slipped through their fingers, his frustration palpable as he recalled the scrutiny from politicians, press, and a grieving family desperate for answers, their pain a constant reminder of the stakes. Everyone wanted an answer, but we had nothing concrete, just a body, 1,000 questions, and a city screaming for justice. The camera lingers on the park's shadowed paths, a breeze rustling the leaves, the silence heavy with secrets the investigation failed to uncover, a city's justice system buckling under the weight of its own failures, a young woman's life reduced to a puzzle with missing pieces, her story lost in a maze of incompetence, desperation, and a world too quick to move on, too eager to assign blame, too blind to seek the truth. The scene shifts to a grainy mugshot of Ingmar Guandique, a 20-year-old undocumented immigrant from El Salvador, his face bruised and scratched from a scuffle during his 2001 arrest, his eyes hollow with a mix of defiance and despair, his image a stark contrast to the polished world of Capitol Hill, a man whose life becomes entangled in a case that needed a villain to satisfy a city's clamor for closure. In 2002, Guandique is sentenced to 10 years for assaulting 2 women at knife point in Rock Creek Park, one on May 14, 2001, just weeks after Chandra's disappearance, the other on July 1st, crimes eerily close to the time and place of her vanishing, their proximity a chilling coincidence that reignites a case gone cold, a spark that draws investigators back to a man they once overlooked, a figure who seems to fit the narrative of a predator in the park, per the Washington Post, 2008. Initially dismissed as a suspect in 2001 due to a lack of evidence, no DNA, no witnesses, no physical link to Chandra, Guandique becomes the focus in 2007 after a Washington Post investigation uncovers new leads. A photo of Chandra clipped from a magazine found in his prison cell at FCI McDowell, a detail that sends shivers through investigators, suggesting an obsession or a trophy, and a jailhouse informant, Armando Morales, claiming Guandique confessed to her murder in a cell block conversation. In 2006, saying, "Homeboy, I killed that. Expletive. But I didn't rape her." His words crude and chilling. A confession that seems to tie a loose end in a case desperate for closure. Per allthat'sinteresting.com, 2024. On March 3, 2009, D.C. police arrest Guandique, charging him with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual assault, despite no forensic evidence, no murder weapon, no DNA, and no eyewitnesses tying him to Chandra. A case built on circumstance, desperation, and the weight of public demand. A prosecution driven by the need to name a killer, per The Guardian, 2010. At the 2010 trial, the prosecution builds a circumstantial case, leaning heavily on testimony from 2 joggers, Hallie Schilling and Christy Wiegand, who described Guandique's attacks in Rock Creek Park with haunting detail, grabbing them from behind on quiet trails, dragging them into ravines, holding a knife to their faces, their screams echoing through the woods, their survival a stroke of luck that Chandra didn't have, their stories painting a picture of a predator who struck in the same place. At the same time, per the Washington Post, 2010, Morales, a 5-time convicted felon and Fresno Bulldogs gang leader, captivates the jury with his tale of Guandique's prison confession, claiming it came during a late-night cell block conversation, his testimony a linchpin in a case with no physical evidence, his words carrying the weight of a verdict despite their fragility. But the defense argues Morales is unreliable, motivated by a deal for better prison conditions and a reduced sentence, his credibility shaky at best, his history of lying to authorities a red flag that the jury overlooks, his motives a shadow over his testimony, per ABC News, 2016. Guandique denies the confession, his defense team pointing to mixed polygraph results, one failed, one inconclusive, and the absence of forensic evidence, noting that Chandra's remains yielded no DNA, no fibers, nothing to link Guandique to the crime, a void that should have raised doubt but didn't, a gap that should have demanded scrutiny but was ignored, per Reddit, 2024. In November 2010, the jury convicts Guandique, sentencing him to 60 years, a verdict that seems to close the case, offering a semblance of justice to a grieving family and a restless public. A moment of relief in a saga of pain. A fleeting sense that the truth has been found, that a killer has been named. But the case unravels like a poorly knit sweater, its threads pulled apart by new revelations that expose the fragility of the conviction. In 2015, retrial is granted after allegations of prosecutorial misconduct surface, sparked by a woman named Babs Proler, real name Beat Maria Brandel, who secretly recorded Morales admitting he lied about Guandique's confession to gain favor with authorities, saying, "I made it all up to get out of that place." His words a bombshell that shatters the prosecution's case, exposing a foundation built on deceit, a lie that sent a man to prison for decades, per the Washington Post, 2016. The recording, combined with revelations that prosecutors withheld information about Morales' gang ties, history of perjury, and cooperation deals, undermines the conviction, revealing a justice system that bent under pressure to deliver a guilty verdict, even at the cost of truth, a system that prioritized closure over certainty. On July 28, 2016, prosecutors drop all charges, citing unforeseen developments and an inability to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, a decision that stuns Chandra's family, reignites public debate, and leaves the case in limbo, a wound reopened, a mystery unresolved, per NPR, 2016. Guandique is deported to El Salvador in May 2017, his guilt or innocence unresolved, his name a question mark in a case that refuses to close, his departure a quiet exit from a story that continues to haunt, a narrative that leaves more shadows than light, a chapter that ends without answers, per Fox News, 2017. The camera zooms out to a desolate prison cell, its walls bare, a single bulb flickering, as if justice itself has gone dark, leaving Chandra's family, investigators, and a nation with nothing but doubts, shadows, and a lingering sense of betrayal in a system that promised answers but delivered only questions, a system that failed a young woman whose life deserved more. The screen fills with a frenetic montage of 2001 headlines: CNN's Congressman's secret lover missing, Fox News' Capitol Hill sex scandal, the Washington Post's Who Killed Chandra Levy. The media turns Chandra's disappearance into a soap opera, framing it as a sexual scandal that eclipses her life, her ambitions, her humanity, reducing a vibrant young woman to a plot point in a tawdry narrative that sells newspapers, boosts ratings, and feeds a nation's appetite for drama. It was a feeding frenzy, NPR's Neil Conan said in 2010, his voice heavy with reflection on a coverage that vilified Gary Condit before evidence emerged, a narrative that shaped public perception more than facts ever could, a media machine that thrived on sensation over substance, that turned a tragedy into a spectacle for a nation hungry for intrigue. Reporters swarmed Condit's Adams Morgan condo, their cameras relentless, their microphones capturing every whispered rumor, their stories amplifying lurid claims of bondage and aggressive sex, allegations later raised by Guandique's defense in 2015 court filings, per People.com, 2016. Claims that added fuel to a fire that was already out of control. Conservative commentator Michelle Malkin noted in 2002 that major media outlets, including the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Los Angeles Times, omitted Guandique's status as an undocumented immigrant in 115 news items she reviewed, as if the narrative was sculpted to avoid certain truths while amplifying others, a selective storytelling that shaped the case's trajectory, a deliberate choice to protect some narratives while destroying others, a decision that skewed the story toward scandal and away from justice, per Wikipedia, 2002. Gary Condit, never charged with a crime, becomes a political casualty, his career incinerated by innuendo, speculation, and a public eager to cast him as the villain in a story that needed one, a man whose life was dismantled by headlines before evidence could be weighed. It's a complete vindication, but it comes a little late. Who gives him his career back? His lawyer, Bert Fields, told the Washington Post in 2010 after Gondik's conviction, his words bitter with the weight of a life destroyed by a media trial, his frustration a testament to a system that judges before evidence is presented, a city that devours its own in the name of headlines, a world that thrives on narrative over truth. Condit's fall is swift. His 2002 re-election bid collapses in a primary loss, his name a synonym for scandal, his family left to pick up the pieces of a life shattered by speculation, his legacy a cautionary tale of a city that punishes without proof, that sacrifices individuals for the sake of a story. Per CNN, 2002. Chandra's story, meanwhile, fades behind the spectacle. Her dreams of career in law enforcement, her quiet determination, her life as a daughter, sister, and friend reduced to a footnote in a scandal that captivated a nation, her humanity buried under headlines that favored drama over dignity, that favored a villain over a victim. Chandra was secretive about her relationship with Condit. Susan Levy told ABC News in 2016, her voice laced with frustration, her memory haunted by details her daughter shared in confidence, details that painted a picture of a young woman navigating a dangerous liaison with a powerful man, a relationship cloaked in secrecy. She called him her man, said he was high profile, told her not to carry ID when they went out. That was a red flag, but I didn't know how big until she was gone. The camera pans to a silent Capitol Hill at night, its marble corridors empty, a faint whisper of censored truths echoing through the halls, a city complicit in burying a young woman's story under the weight of its own spectacle, a machine that thrives on narrative over truth, power over justice, control over closure, a place where secrets are currency and the truth is a shadow cast by those who wield it. A city that protects its own while sacrificing those who seek its promise. The camera returns to Rock Creek Park, its shadows deeper now, the wind rustling through ancient trees, carrying the ghosts of unanswered questions across its tangled trails, its silence a testament to secrets it will never yield, a wilderness that holds its truths close like a jealous lover, a place that guards its mysteries with an unyielding grip. Was justice ever truly served? Or was this case decided in the court of public opinion? A verdict shaped by headlines, whispers, and a city's hunger for resolution, rather than evidence and law. A judgment that served the needs of a narrative over the demands of truth? Chandra Levy vanished, her life snuffed out in a city that thrives on power, secrets, and the illusion of control. Her dreams silenced in a wilderness that guards its mysteries, her story reduced to a flicker extinguished in the shadows of a city that forgot her. Gary Condit was destroyed, his name a synonym for scandal, his career a casualty of a narrative that convicted him without proof, his life a warning of what happens when media and politics collide in a city that feeds on sacrifice, a man whose guilt or innocence remains a footnote in a story that consumed him, a life dismantled by a world that judged before it listened. Ingmar Gondik walked free, his guilt or innocence swallowed by a flawed system, a lying witness, and a case built on sand, his deportation a quiet exit from a story that refuses to resolve, a departure that leaves only questions in its wake, a shadow that lingers in the public's mind, a mystery that refuses to rest. "I'm still in a state of shock," Susan Levy told NBC Bay Area in 2016, her voice breaking as she mourned a daughter whose killer remains unknown, her grief a rebuke to a world that moved on, her heart a vessel for a pain that time cannot heal, her words a plea for a truth that feels forever out of reach, a mother's cry echoing in a city that turned away, that closed its eyes to her loss. The media built a circus, turning Chandra's life into a spectacle, her death into a scandal that overshadowed her humanity, their headlines drowning out the quiet dignity of a young woman who deserved better, who deserved to be remembered for her dreams, her determination, her light, not her demise. The police fumbled the evidence, their missteps leaving a trail of lost opportunities, a crime scene eroded by time, neglect, and incompetence, their failures a stain on a system meant to protect, a betrayal of a family that trusted them to find answers, a wound that festers in the absence of truth. The political machine churned out narratives that buried the truth beneath layers of spin, protecting some while destroying others, its machinery oiled by ambition, silence, and the need to control the story, to shape the narrative in a city where power is paramount. We lost sight of Chandra. The Washington Post's Sari Horwitz reflected in 2010, her words a quiet admission of complicity in a story that favored sensation over substance, a confession that the media failed a young woman whose life deserved more than headlines, whose story deserved more than a scandal, whose memory deserved more than a footnote in a city's endless drama, a failure that echoes in the silence of a case unresolved. The camera lingers on the Capitol dome, its glow dimmed by a creeping fog, a symbol of a system that failed Chandra Levy, a city that guards its secrets with a ferocity that rivals its pursuit of power, a machine that thrives on control over closure, a place where truth is often a casualty of ambition, where justice is a promise unfulfilled. One woman vanished, her dreams silenced in a park that holds its secrets close, her life a flicker extinguished in the shadows of a city that forgot her, her story a whisper lost in the noise of scandal, her legacy a wound that refuses to heal. One man was destroyed, his life undone by a narrative he couldn't escape, his name a cautionary tale in a world that judges without proof, his legacy a reminder of a city's power to ruin, to sacrifice individuals for the sake of a story. And still, no one knows what really happened in Rock Creek Park. The screen fades to black, the silence heavy, as if Washington itself is holding its breath, guarding truths it will never share, its corridors whispering secrets that echo through time, its halls a labyrinth where answers are lost to ambition, silence, and the weight of a city's secrets. Was this a murder, cover-up, or a tragedy amplified by a world too eager to judge, too quick to forget, too blind to see the truth hidden in its shadows? What lies buried in the silence of a city that thrives on secrets? And will Chandra Levy's story ever find the justice it deserves? Or will it remain a whisper in the halls of power, a mystery unsolved, a truth forever out of reach, a wound that never heals in a nation that watched it unfold, clicked the headlines, shared the stories, and turned away, leaving a young woman's life to fade into the shadows of a city that never truly saw her, that never truly sought her truth?